Welcome everyone. Today's Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the City of Asbury Park Zoning Board of Adjustment. Chairman Avalone, will you please call this meeting to order?
I'd be happy to. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on the municipal bulletin board and municipal website. All notices are on file with the board's secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before this board. Fire exits are located on the east and west sides of the council chambers as well as the back of the building. I ask everyone with a cell phone or any other device to kindly silence your device for the duration of this meeting. And this meeting is being recorded by APTV. Roll call, please, Marie.
Wendy Glassman. Daniel Harris is absent at the moment. Russell Lewis.
Here.
Jill Potter.
Here.
Tim Slick is absent. Our newest member, Natalie Passerini.
Here.
Vice Chair John Scully.
Here.
And Chairman Christopher Avalone.
Here. All right, so I would like to officially welcome Natalie Passerini as our new alternate number 1. Welcome to the board. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome. Welcome.
And so we have first up is an executive session. I'll read the resolution into the minutes. Whereas NJS 2:4-12, the Open Public Meetings Act, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting of the board in certain circumstances, and whereas the board hereby moves to close the public hearing and convene in closed executive session in order to discuss the staff appointment of a board engineer for 2024 pursuant to NJS 2:4-12B8, which is permitted by the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, and whereas it is anticipated at this time that the results of the discussions will be made public after the discussion at the option of the board. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Asbury Park Zoning Board of Adjustment that it will hereby close the public portion of this meeting in order to convene in private executive session for the reasons set forth. I make a motion to adopt the resolution to go into executive session.
I'll second.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Vice Chair John Scully.
Yes.
And Chairman Christopher Avalone.
Yes. So we will be back.
All right. I will take the roll call. Wendy Glassman.
Here.
Daniel Harris is absent. Russell Lewis.
Here.
Jill Potter.
Here.
Tim Slick is absent. Natalie Passerini.
Here.
Vice Chair Scully.
Here.
Chairman Avalone.
Here. All right, so first thing up is I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution for 1510 3rd Avenue.
I'll second.
15 3rd Avenue. So Daniel Harris is absent. Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Tim Slick is absent. Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
And Chairman Avalone.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion now to adopt as our new engineering firm, Avakian Incorporated.
I'll second.
Chris and John. Okay, Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
And Chairman Avalone.
Yes.
Chair, just a quick question. Just so we have it correct on the resolution, is it Leon S. Avakian Inc.?
I guess, yes, Leon S. Avakian Inc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they changed the name.
No, it's still Leon. And I make a motion to adopt as our conflict engineer, T&M.
Second.
Okay, so TNM. Okay, Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
And Chairman Avalone.
Yes. All right, so now we need to adopt the resolutions. Is that the way we should handle it, Marie, or?
For
For
the
the,
appointments?
Yes,
Yeah. Jack prepared it, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. I
he
think
did
it-
prepare
yeah.
it. Yes. So I'll just start with,
I make a motion to adopt the resolution for Leon S. Avakian Incorporated as our board engineer.
Second.
okay, Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
And Chairman Avaloni.
Yes. And now I make a motion to adopt TNM as our conflict engineer, to adopt the resolution for the conflict engineer of TNM.
Second.
Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
Yes.
Vice Chair Scully.
Yes.
And Chairman Avaloni.
Yes. All right, so we have two applications. The first for carrying. I make a motion to carry the 1201 Bridge Street Gaylord Rural application to June 11th, 2024.
I'll second.
Jill Potter.
Did that have notice, or is there no notice required?
So they
With
will-
new notice,
they
with
will-
new
I didn't
notice.
check a notice.
No, this is with new notice.
All right.
Yes. Wendy Glassman.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Recused.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Natalie Passerini.
She can't,
Yeah,
Can to
not
carry.
eligible.
no,
Yeah. Okay. So John Scully
Recused.
and Chairman Avaloni.
yes,
So just to be clear, that was an application that started?
yes.
Okay. So Natalie, you can arrange with Marie to listen to the tapes,
Okay.
and then at the next hearing, you'll be able to. as long
Yeah, I think we're into like the third meeting already.
Yeah.
Okay. You watched them? Okay, so there's a certification that you'll do with Marie.
Yeah. So
For
we'll,
that.
when we get
And
that.
the next, you can deliver it.
These three.
All right, we're good? All right, so 306th Avenue. Mr. Kennedy.
Good evening.
Mr. Chair, I did have an opportunity to review the notices relative to this application. It's coming back to us from a resolution that the board did approve, I want to say in 2022. But I did look at the notice, everything looks fine to me, as long as what the relief that they're requesting is based on that notice.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. Good evening to Mr. Chairman and ladies and gentlemen of the board and the new board member and professionals. My name is Kevin Kennedy. I'm an attorney in Red Bank, and I'm here tonight on behalf of my clients. First of all, I apologize for my less than casual appearance tonight. I had an unexpectedly hectic afternoon with not one but two crises, so I didn't have time to go home change. I apologize. But I'm here tonight on behalf of my clients, James and Kathleen Dunn, with regard to the property at 300 6th Avenue, Asbury Park. Now, the applicants, as Mr. Beekman just indicated, received approval from this very board in July of 2022 for construction of a single-family home on the site. The resolution was adopted, no known appeal period, and construction is underway. In fact, it is substantially complete. A temporary CO has been issued, as I understand. It turns out that there have been several deviations with respect to what was approved and what is actually built. And on behalf of my clients, I am here tonight respectfully seeking amended approval for some of those deviations and modifications. And my team and myself do not come here lightly. I do not like to be in this position where we're coming in to retroactively seek approval to make modifications.
Mr. Kennedy, may I just interrupt you for a
Sure.
second? You mentioned that you have a TCO. Who granted the TCO?
My client will address that momentarily, if that's okay.
Are they living there now?
No,
They are not. Okay,
and we'll have that confirmed.
Okay,
And so primarily these days, I am fortunate enough to be mostly a board attorney. So as a board attorney, I know it's board members are never real happy to have people coming back to retroactively seek modifications. I have been on your side of the aisle on this equation, and I can certainly understand that my experience is that in these situations, some board members can feel anger and frustration and confusion and betrayal and sadness and angst and loss of patience. I get that and I fully understand that. Many other times, not in this situation, I have experienced clients or have witnessed where...
May I interrupt you again,
Sure.
Mr. Kennedy? We have one of the members coming back.
Oh, great.
I just had to have it start.
Hello, Mr. Harris, welcome.
So, Mr. Kennedy, since Mr. Harris came in after your application started, but we haven't started any witness, do you have any objection if he deliberates?
I have no objection whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
We just started.
Like 3 minutes.
And do you have any objection if he votes?
I have no objection whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
And Mr. Harris, good evening. My name is Kevin Kennedy, and just the 10-second recap. I'm here tonight on behalf of my clients for 300 6th Avenue. We previously obtained approval, and there has been some deviation, so we're coming back here now for those, hopefully, for modified approval. And so, Mr. Chairman, I understand some of the frustration that board members might feel, and as I was saying, many other times, not in this situation, but many other times, when I get to the heart of it and I say to either a client as the board attorney or my private client, I say, why did you do this? And I get such nonsensical answers as, well, the government shouldn't tell me what I'm supposed to do. What's the big deal? I just figured it was better to do it now and just ask for forgiveness later. It was quicker to do it this way. It was cheaper to do it this way. I didn't want to waste time getting permits, and I didn't think I would get caught. I have no patience for any of those answers, and I'm sure you would not and should not either. I can absolutely assure you that that is not the case that we have tonight. And if it were, respectfully, I would not be here. There are definitely differences and deviations from what was approved and what was built. And my clients own that. They're not running away from that. They apologize for this confusion and the deviations, but I assure you, and as we will explain, there was no bad faith here. There was no intent to manipulate or game the system or bastardize the system. And we recognize, obviously, that the buck stops with the applicants. The applicants are responsible for their actions and inactions and the actions and inactions of their team. But just to advise the board, and Mr. Chairman, where we're going tonight, my client will, under oath, provide what I think are fairly compelling reasons as to why the deviations took place. And again, we can never turn back the time. Had I had the ability to do so, I would say get approval ahead of time, but we can't turn back. But essentially, a great number of the deviations were stemming from code requirements and public health and safety requirements. And also, the underside, the lot is does not have the requisite width. So, in a nutshell, my clients are going to testify tonight about A, their sincere, heartfelt apologies, and B, confirmation that absolutely no work was performed without permits. In fact, the clients are going to testify that municipal officials were wonderful. They had an open communication and very quick and repeated inspections. I think the client even said that one of the officials said, "You're one of the first people who got approved on the first shot for all your inspections." Some of the deviations were suggested by the municipal inspectors as a result of code requirements and public health and safety. And some of the deviations generally, believe it or not, result from COVID-related issues and supply chain issues and product unavailability. And the applicant's builder who is here is definitely not one of those type of gentlemen who is a, hey, we'll worry about it later type of attitude. We did not have that attitude at all. Some of the deviations, while still deviations, are actually less intense than what was previously approved. Again, still deviations. My clients will also testify that it never occurred to them that what they were doing constituted a potential violation. They did not ever think that there was any new variances or any exacerbation of previously granted variances. And my client will testify that while there were certain features which were not necessarily specific conditions of approval, but were nonetheless details which were on the previously approved plans. And again, he just did not think necessarily that the change would constitute a violation. There were on-site field conditions that drove and contributed a number of these, again, given the nature of the lot. And some of the deviations were driven by our builder and consultants saying things, hey, you can't do it this way. This is not code compliant, or this is going to look aesthetically compromised. My client will also testify that he wasn't necessarily aware that just because the construction office or zoning office, or I'm sorry, construction or building office said it was okay, never thought the level of it can't deviate from the zoning board approval. My client will also testify, in his humble opinion, that the building as it is very nice, very aesthetically pleasing, and there appear to be neighbors who support what is there now. And the only reason I say that is because during the initial underlying hearing, there was an objector or someone who's expressed concern, and we think that person is on board. But I'm also will say that I think at one point my client had a sign up, a temporary sign up that advertised or said who the architect was, who the builder was, who the attorney was, and I actually got a random phone call from someone saying, hey, this was a nice project. But my client will also talk about enhanced or sophisticated stormwater management for this site, and we have our engineer to testify to that too. And I also will say that, and I am getting to the end here, I promise, but I also will say that the changes that were made were not because they were quicker or easier or cheaper. It was actually quite the opposite. And we also submit, and hopefully that you will find, that the deviations, though deviations, do not violate or compromise the underlying spirit and intent of the board's initial approval. So again, that was, regardless of the outcome tonight, my client wanted to make it abundantly clear that there was never an intentional act or intentional desire to manipulate or deceive the system. That's not who my clients are. And I just wanted to emphasize that point. My clients are remorseful, and you're going to hear that about the situation, and they have insisted that all of their potential witnesses come here tonight. We have obviously the owner, we have the builder, the architect, the engineer, myself. Hopefully I'm not going to need all that testimony, but I have them to testify or to answer questions if that is the need. This entire project has been a labor of love for the applicants, and I was fortunate to have represented the clients in connection with their acquisition of the land, their zoning board approval, and hopefully this modified approval. And for those veteran members who are here back in 2022, you'll recall that prior to our application, a prior owner had submitted an application for a two-family home on the site, which was denied once or twice. My client thereafter signed a contract, by the way, without a zoning contingency, much to my chagrin. My client bought the property, proceeded to obtain the zoning board approval, and the building is underway. So to wrap it up, we come here, and I'm sincerely, respectfully, conscientiously, remorsefully, proudly, hopefully, and anxiously. And all I ask is that you all, as you always do and always have whenever I've been involved, is that you look at this modified proposal open-mindedly and you listen to the applicant's testimony as to how and why those deviations were created and what those deviations are. And hopefully you're going to find that, after all was said and done, the modified proposal, had it been initially submitted, you may have approved it, or that the benefits of these deviations and the reasons for them justify, or the benefits outweigh any detriments associated therewith. Again, we hope that you find that this does not compromise the spirit and intent of the prior approval. So this situation has undoubtedly, God bless you, caused my clients a lot of heartache and time and money and inconvenience and pain. And we get that's on us, that's not the city, you build in accordance with the approved plans, you don't have this. This is a consequence of the deviations, but we are here, and I'm sorry for that somewhat obnoxious statement, but I just importantly wanted to give the general analysis of what we're going to be doing. So, Mr. Chair, my intent is to have the applicant testify regarding those changes and why. And then I have an engineer here to testify as to some stormwater management issues. And then that may be all we need, maybe not. We obviously reserve our right. And if you have any questions, we have the other witnesses here. But again, thank you for giving me the time on that. And with that, I'd like to call James Dunn.
That was very eloquent, Mr. Kennedy. You have a huge mountain to climb.
Yes. And we recognize that. And that's why I wanted to put that thing together, because we don't come here lightly.
Please
Your clients
proceed.
unfortunately put you in a terrible seat.
It is an unfortunate situation, and I think if you hear some of the things, again, there's no excuse for the deviations. We can't go backwards, we can only move forward, but I think you will at least find sincerity on our part.
Mr. Kennedy, I will just add, and I don't continue to beat you up any further, but to use your words from the last time we were here in July of 2022, you said, quote, "in the spirit of good faith," end quote. As our chairman said, you've got a large,
Yes.
large hill to overcome tonight. So,
And I appreciate that, sir, and I don't disagree with that, and I think we will prove to you good faith, and again, we apologize, but there are some compelling circumstances. Again, textbook case, get approval beforehand, that was not done, but I can't move back, but I will.
So you're here looking for forgiveness, correct?
Well, with forgiveness but also for the justification and with the reasons why my clients did not necessarily know that there was deviations that needed board approval. And I think
we spent 2.5 hours.
Absolutely.
At that first hearing, and you know what? I'm never going to get the next 2.5 hours of my life back, because I rewatched that video so that I was well versed for tonight.
All right. Well, first,
And we covered a lot of things very thoroughly,
as you always do,
and I don't take tonight lightly.
and
And I'm not beating up on you.
I agree.
It's for your applicants, it's for the builder, it's for whomever.
yes,
This is not about you, Mr.
Yeah.
Kennedy.
absolutely.
You're a gentleman, you're polite, we deal with you a lot, but I'm not
And
pleased by any means.
And I understand that. And I also recognize the volunteer nature of your time. And I also recognize.
Again, very eloquent, but please
No.
proceed.
Okay. but I do recognize it. So,
You don't have to tell us.
okay. Thank you. Could I call James Dunn?
Please.
James, come on up.
Kevin, do you have anything that you want to, any exhibits that you want to?
We do have some things that he'll go and mark them along as we go. I don't know. They've already been submitted, so we still need to mark
these are
them.
part of the
I don't
packets.
have those Peter's here.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that either.
Okay.
These were in the packet that we had dropped off.
Those were they not in the digital files? They were just dropped off?
They were they were paper, right.
Are they part of the packet we received?
They're part of the packet.
We thought
that
they were,
dropped
I
off.
don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't in the digital packet, it's in the paper packets.
Just like the last one.
Yep.
I don't need all this.
All right, so it wasn't posted.
It's the first application.
It wasn't posted on the website.
It would not have been included in that, no, we would not have had it.
Okay. So, do you want to mark this now, or do you want to, and then you're going to talk about it? I know we have a bunch of copies.
I'll
Okay.
defer to you.
Okay. So what this is just a series of pictures of the property and surrounding properties, correct?
Correct.
All right. A1?
A1, yeah. So it's a photo packet?
Yes.
How many photos do we have of David?
And there's a portion of a site plan in there. 3, 4, 27, and it does include the temporary certificate of occupancy. So it's,
I want to call photo packet miscellaneous documents 27.
I believe it's part of our package.
Yes, the paper, so the
Donna, you have one?
Are we sharing this or is it?
I'll need one.
Okay. You know, thank you. All right, so Mr. Dunn, they're going to swear you in.
Mr. Dunn, you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And while we're swearing you in, Don and Jason, you swear that the testimony you'll provide this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And if you could just state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Sure, James Dunn, D-U-N-N.
All right, so Mr. Dunn, just procedurally, let's start a couple of things. Why don't you just say your profession and your experience before we get into the meat of the testimony?
I'm an electrical engineer by education. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering, and for the past 30 years, I have been the Executive Vice President at Warshauer Electric Supply, headquartered in Tinton Falls.
Okay, and you're the owner of the property, correct?
Correct.
And roughly how long have you owned that property?
January of 2022.
And obviously you were here for the initial part of my presentation. You and your wife previously obtained zoning board adjustment approval to construct a single-family home,
Correct.
and construction is underway and substantially complete?
Correct.
Okay. And for the record, why don't you just describe this property, the corner nature of it, and some of the surrounding properties?
The property's on the corner of 6th and Webb. I have obviously one neighbor on one side and another neighbor on the other. Across the street is an apartment complex, mainly the parking lot for an apartment complex.
And just for the record, and we'll have questions on this later on, but you heard my introduction and you heard obviously some concern amongst board members. I said you're sorry. Why don't you explain it as well?
Well, I think as Kevin said, we had a lot of meetings with the builder, a lot of meetings with the code officers in Asbury, and we honestly did not know where the line was as far as, when we did not need variances. When I talked to the builder, and my builder, by the way, was excellent, very, very detail-oriented guy. I know he's here now, but I would say it even if he wasn't. Did not ask me for a single change order for the entire project, but was super detail-oriented. And I was at the house almost every single day, and I heard quite a few comments from our subs that would say, well, I think they'll allow us to do that, and I think the code officer will approve it, and he would stop them in their tracks and say, we're not moving forward until we get them to tell us they're going to approve it. And the city of Asbury Park was phenomenal. Always answered the phone, whether it was the plumbing inspector, electrical inspector, mechanical, framing. Always answered the phone, always willing to come to the job site, answer questions, keep the job on track. But my builder in no way, shape, or form would ever move forward if he thought that there was a potential for a variance that might have been needed or that we were doing something that might be a code violation. And he explained that to me in the very beginning. He said, I'm not going to rush through this. We're going to do it right, and we're going to do it right the first time. And he said to me, don't ever ask me to add anything from this point forward. He goes, because you can't add. He goes, we might have to take away, but you can't add. So I apologize because that's a misunderstanding on my part. I do apologize for your time. But there certainly was zero intent. In fact, we did take quite a bit away.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
You had a copy of the resolution, correct?
Absolutely.
You read it, correct?
Absolutely.
You agreed to it, correct?
Absolutely.
So where is the discrepancy?
Well, if we can address some of that, if you could.
He's saying that he's an intelligent man, obviously.
Very much.
I don't understand that. What was unclear in the resolution, Mr. Dunn?
Nothing was actually unclear. When we first started framing the house, for instance.
No, you didn't answer the question.
Well, nothing was unclear. No.
So
Did you
stop.
provide a copy of the resolution to the people on the ground?
Yes, absolutely. My builder was here the night we got approved, so we all had it.
So your builder had a copy of the resolution.
Correct.
You just testified that your builder told you that he is so reputable that he would not do anything to go against the variance or anything.
Or to cause another variance.
Correct. That's
That
correct.
was done multiple times.
Again, the misunderstanding was whether it was just a design change or something that required a new variance. So that is,
Let's get specific, because
Mm-hmm.
I think we're past
Yeah.
apologies and all that, specifics.
So,
You have the size of a hot tub. Okay, I'm just gonna jump ahead because
okay,
the size of a hot tub substantially larger than what had been approved. You have the Juliet porches larger than what was approved. None of those
privacy
things
screen.
were, you know that there was a lot of discussion when you came here the first time about those things, and those were very carefully.
And there was nothing unclear about that.
And yeah.
no, I'm not arguing that at all. The hot tub, if you would like me to address
Well,
that.
actually-
I just want to make the point.
Yeah, I'll be happy to address it all.
You are speaking, and your lawyer's been speaking to us as if these are just incidental things that happened along the way, and who would have thought? Except that we spent hours here poring over these details that you could tell were really significant to this board, and that you agreed to.
But not only to this board, because they came here originally for a variance.
Yes.
Or several.
Yes, several.
Or design exceptions. So we wanted to make sure that in our application and hearing, we covered details. So the oops, incidental, the list here in Donna's well-written report is, I think, 14 points or more long.
So somebody made a decision to change.
Yeah.
You're
Well, I mean,
telling us
almost
that
every
it
point.
wasn't your builder, because your builder's reputable and he would never do anything to go against a variance. So are you telling us tonight that you consciously made the decision to make these changes?
No, a lot of it was driven by code.
Mr. Chairman, if
The
I,
size of a hot tub and the size of those Juliet porches is not driven by code.
Right.
So
No,
let's just.
I did not say all of it. I agree, it's not all of it. A majority of it was dictated by code.
Nor is the elimination of windows.
Right.
Right.
Or transoms, right? Isn't there transoms?
Yeah.
But I can tell you,
So
Hold on.
none of that was unclear.
Right.
You made those choices, correct?
Somebody made those choices.
You're the owner, right? You made those choices.
correct.
Yeah.
But-
So you
but-
knew you were violating the resolution.
No, I would need to
And you had a
explain.
copy of the resolution.
I absolutely do.
Mr. Chairman, and I don't want to cut, and would not be authorized to cut you off, but what I would like is, I understand the frustration, if he could go through the changes.
I don't see the point.
I don't think we need to hear the excuses.
Well, but some of them are.
I think we need to hear the resolutions.
But, okay, that's a fair point. However, what I would say is, when we get approval, which is awesome that we got the approval, the construction office has to approve things, and some, not all, some of the things are construction code that it would not be code compliant to build.
Donna,
And-
do you have a question?
I have a question.
Wait, have they been sworn in?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Donna, if I could just interrupt you a minute. So Mr. Kenny, so what you're telling us is that the code officials told you, or told the builder, or told your owner to increase the size of the Juliet balconies, to buy a bigger hot tub, and to change the screening. Is that
And to
your
eliminate
testimony?
windows.
No, if I could
Because
just,
otherwise it's
Yeah,
irrelevant.
one window was eliminated
What the code
by
official-
request of a code official. The window ended up in a full-size window ended up in a bathtub. And he said, absolutely not. That's a hazard. And windows are waterproof from the outside, not the inside. If somebody loses their footing and they can fall through the window, he asked us to eliminate the window in the bathroom.
Did you even think that you should ask those questions to someone else first?
Honestly, I did not. I mean, the code official told us we had to eliminate. So
You're an
that's my
engineer, correct?
I am an electrical engineer, yes.
So you understand that you've been granted variances, right?
Yes.
And you just violated those variances.
Again, when the code official tells you that you can't put the window in the
Mr.
bathroom.
Dunn, I just find your argument very incredible.
And let's, again, an argument that you might have for that window has no bearing whatsoever on the size of your hot tub, the size of those Juliet windows, and the transoms over.
Or the privacy
door.
screen.
Right, so
but here's the only thing, I'm sorry.
No, so
it is,
the
you're
question,
undermining your own credibility by continuing to make these statements about things that you had a choice about. There is no city official that was going to tell you to put in a bigger hot tub or build a wider porch.
Condition 14 of the resolution
Mm-hmm.
stipulates the Juliet balcony shall be
Yes.
no larger than
4 by
4 by 4.
Yep.
And the plan shall be changed accordingly.
And the reason
So,
for that,
so
Mr.
when you
Dunn?
make the choice to change the size of the Juliet balcony, and you don't know who to ask if that's okay, where is the line? Where is the line between what would get me a variance and what I don't need a variance for? Is right there in your resolution. So changing the Juliet balcony size is a very black and white, clear-cut choice
And
to
Mr.
not
Dunn,
seek out, again,
sorry, Don, I need to cut you off. Go ahead.
the building department has no jurisdiction over that. You should have gone right to the zoning office. Nobody should have framed out anything.
Or at least ask your attorney.
And the reason why we specifically said 4 by 4?
Your
so that
attorney
it
would
wouldn't
have
be used for
given you the direction.
And I
So-
will advise the board that I had to do multiple versions of resolution compliance to ensure that the architectural plans correctly represented the Juliet balconies. There was pushback.
Yeah.
Right. And it was so that there was no seating. And do you know what you submitted in your application? You submitted a picture of the Juliet balcony with a chair on it.
That didn't fit. You couldn't even put your
It's
legs
not
on
supposed
it.
to.
It wasn't supposed to.
No, but it doesn't.
Juliet balcony is just supposed to give you view, breeze, maybe a step out,
Right.
possibly.
Can I,
Not seating,
If-
not a table,
Mr.
not a chair.
Mr. Chairman,
It's
I
the reason
understand.
we use Juliet balcony. Sorry.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, ma'am.
Excuse me. Did you want a bigger balcony?
no, it was not about bigger balcony. In
Did
fact,
you want a bigger hot tub?
the hot tub was literally a,
No, answer my question.
no, I did not want it, no.
But you did it anyway.
I was supply chain. I could not get the tub that was
That's
approved
not
was.
our concern.
Yeah.
Your supply
I-
chain issues are not our
I
concern.
totally understand that, but at the 11th hour where the crane was going to be there, I could not get the 8 by 12. I could get the 8 by 15. It is
So
3
why didn't
foot
you
longer.
speak to your attorney?
I honestly did not know that was something that would require a variance, going from 8 by 12 to 8 by 15. It is no higher than it was on the original plan.
But do you honestly think that we go through the effort of the discussions about details and make sure that these resolutions are written accurately and carefully to reflect what we've all agreed at after hours of testimony and deliberation, that they don't mean anything?
No, it's not the case at all.
Well,
Or they're
that's the
optional?
effect.
No, I would love to just have a chance to say, I'll address the balconies if I can.
Well, hold on.
Or no.
Mr. Chairman,
I can't address
I understand.
I think,
I-
Mr. Kennedy,
Sure.
what we're coming to is we need a remediation plan.
Yes.
Right. But I would respectfully ask for some indulgence to just let him explain some of the real-life issues. And again, whether or not that's acceptable to you, but some of the real-life construction code and building code issues, I would just like to say that for the record, and then we can come back to
You
the,
can do that, but I think I will say your application is clear in what you thought you could do or the reasons why you did
Right.
what they did, and
but
they're not.
You know, just to give you some hope, the only thing that I'm willing to move on is the artificial turf. I have it, it's porous. That's standard how they install it. That's about the only thing I like in your application.
would it be permissible, just for record-keeping purposes, so I can, and we can say it, to just say some of what the construction code officials, and not officials, construction code, building code issues were that would prevent the building of what
They
we
should
were
have
initially.
shown the resolution.
Agreed.
But you're trying to play, see what you're trying to do, and I'm not really a technical person, but I'm great on common sense. You're playing one against the other. You're playing one, you're going like this, but you did this, okay? You're playing one city agency against another. No, don't open your mouth. Well, I heard you say that, Mr. Dunn, that they didn't have the hot tub that you wanted. That's why you put the other hot tub in. Am I correct, sir?
That is correct. I took
Could you have waited?
a floor model.
No. Could you have waited?
No.
Why?
Well, according to the builder, the crane was scheduled and they had other things that had to go on. That crane could only go on that property at a certain point. And so the crane was scheduled. He asked me for delivery of the hot tub.
Couldn't bring the crane back?
Again, it would have been a major delay. I can't really talk to that, but
So, again, inconvenience on yourselves versus compliance with the resolution.
it was honestly, and again, I can apologize all I can. I didn't know that taking the floor model
We're
that
not
was 3
looking for
feet long.
apologies, Mr.
That's
Dunn.
all I'm saying.
That's the last thing we want to hear
Right.
from you, is any further apologies.
Okay.
And the other thing I just want to put out, and if I misled the board, I apologize.
Please, no more apologies.
But no, there was no intention in terms of to say that the building official said yes to the construction. We know the zoning board controls the zoning, but that's, if I could, just for the record, have him explain each of the, I know you referenced 14 or 14 points in Donna's letter. I would just like to have him explain it. And then if it doesn't move you, it doesn't move you. And then we'll focus on the remediation plan and what we have to do to try to get this thing, the ship, righted. But I just would, for record-keeping purposes, like to explain the situation. We'll be brief.
Please.
That's like trying to explain to a cop, after I ran 45 and the 25, let me explain to you why I did 45.
So Jim, why don't you go
As
through...
briefly and concisely as possible, Mr. Dunn.
Understood.
So why don't you go through some of the items one by one, those 14 items?
Okay. First off, I don't know if the board is aware that my home had to be built to 5A construction standards with a 1-hour fire rating. Because of the full-height ceiling on the 3rd floor, I was given the option of putting a full-size sprinkler system in my house, or to go to double sheetrock throughout the entire home with fire-rated plywood on the outside of my house, which I took that option instead of putting the sprinkler system in. By putting in 5/8 double sheetrock throughout the home, that drastically changed a lot of things inside the house. Like when you mentioned the transom that could not go over the door, it couldn't go there anymore because the ceiling heights changed. Because now I have double 5/8 sheetrock on my ceilings, double 5/8 sheetrock on all of my walls. That wasn't something that we ever discussed. That wasn't something I knew. But the building inspector said, because you have a full height on your 3rd floor, you have no options. Those are your 2 options. I did not know that would have required us to go back to the board and explain that.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you did have another option, is not to put a full 3rd floor.
It's not full. The board, what the
I'm
board
just saying
approved.
Is you're saying that the building code officer told you had to do all this extra stuff because you had the whole 3rd floor.
Well, the house
The
was.
other option is that you could have reduced that.
Correct. The house was framed at that point when he came up and said, now that your house is framed.
But it's still an option. You're saying
No,
you only had those 2 options.
Yeah, there's always options,
You
yeah.
had a third.
But he gave me 2 options. He said, give me double 5/8 throughout the house and 1 hour on all penetrations, or put a full-size sprinkler system in. And that did drastically change the inside of the house and shifted a lot of things around. I could not put a transom over my door because now my ceiling had shifted down a little bit.
Mr. Dunn, wouldn't your builder know that? Wouldn't your builder know that using double 5/8 would change the size of rooms and ceilings and possibly be able to redirect you to what should be done versus causing a domino effect of changes?
Well, we talked about it quite a bit, and he did not recommend that I do the sprinkler system because an interior sprinkler system would have to be maintained and it would have to be a fire pump. So we did talk about that, and he said, Jim, it's going to cost you a lot of money, cause you a lot of pain, but at the end of the day, I think your best option is to put the double 5/8 sheetrock in, change the lighting plan because I couldn't use wafers anymore. I had to use hi-hats with hi-hat covers on them. So it just caused a lot of money, a lot of pain, but at the end of the day, that was his recommendation, just to go with the 5/8 sheetrock throughout. And again, I am in, 2023 and supply chain and the prices to go to double sheetrock and fire-rated plywood, but it was what it was. We had to do it, and it made the plumbing a lot more challenging, the HVAC ductwork a lot more challenging, the electrical a lot more challenging, but it was what it was. When the building inspector came through and says, those are your two options, either put a sprinkler system in or double the sheetrock.
Jim, what about
Shouldn't your architect have known that as well? To go along with what my other board member said, is that, why didn't your builder know this? Again, you said that your builder's extremely competent.
Right.
I'm assuming your architect's extremely competent. He's been vetted as an expert in front of the board. Shouldn't he have known that when he was drawing up the plans initially, when you initially came here for 2.5 hours in front of this board in 2022?
I can tell you that we were all surprised when he came in and said it's 5A construction, 1 hour fire rated. So I can only say, we were all surprised.
And did you have a conversation with your architect as well as to the deficiencies in his work because of this?
Again, I didn't point fingers and point blame. I just agreed.
You're pointing fingers at somebody over in town hall pretty easily tonight, though.
No, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just, it was 5A construction, 1 hour fire rated, so we did what we were told to do.
Well, Jim, if I could, why don't you talk about the balconies? Because as I recall, there was extensive testimony about the size of the balconies and that they were to be true Juliet balconies, no, as
Correct.
I recall, no massive parties. I think we said no furniture.
I want to correct you, they were not true Juliet balconies. A true Juliet balcony has no place to stand.
Right.
He was given
4 by 4.
4-foot depth. He was
Right.
going to have some room out there.
But
Just a railing against a window.
Clearly not a lot of room, but Jim, why don't you talk about the size of the two balconies?
At the time the house was being framed, the framer first brought up a concern that you could not open up a storm door, a 3-foot wide door, if you only had 6 inches on each side. They said no person can physically stand on either side to open that door. After a lot of discussions with the builder and even like mapping it out and drawing it out, the framer said the minimum it can be is 6 inches wide to get a normal sized person to be able to stand to the side of the door. That would be 18 inches on each side of the door instead of the 6 inches. We knew that we were approved for 4 by 4. We knew we had 16 square feet in our head, and we said, well, if we have to go wider, we went much shallower. The depth of our Juliet porches stands at 34 inches, not 48 inches. So what the builder said is, hey, you can't add, and that's where we're always trying to keep the spirit in. We are not 48 inches wide. We did not go that deep. We reduced it down to 2 feet 10 inches of width. And that's why I showed a picture of the chair on there. The chair touches the back of the door and the front of the porch. You can't physically sit there.
It was a variance situation. You were given a stipulation for a dimension. Why did you choose an alternate dimension for the item that required a variance? Rather than seeking, just call a zoning office, is this okay?
Right, for all the times you said that you spoke to people
The building
in the
department.
city, and you were always talking to everybody, and they were
But you
always
didn't know
responsive.
that.
They're very
Why
good.
wouldn't you ask for things that,
Again, I didn't know that we would need to, especially when we were taking away. We were making
You did,
the,
you just said you understood that it was a 4 by 4 requirement.
which is what we were trying to stay within the 16 square
But
feet.
that wasn't what we said. We didn't say 4 by 4 or stay within 16 square feet. We said 4 by 4.
But
Purpose.
I made the point just to say that we weren't trying to just do something and get away with it. We took something away. We did. The porch was allowed to be 48 inches deep, and the critical dimension in our mind was the one that was going out towards the street, the 48 inches. We reduced that down to 2 feet 10
You made
inches.
yourself the decision maker
Yeah.
on this board.
And that was wrong.
Correct.
We
know that now, for sure.
So who told you that you had to put a storm door on?
I was just highly recommended because the Webb Street.
By who, though?
The architect and the builder. Because the Webb Street
Your architect
porches.
is shaking his head behind you, so I don't know if it was the architect.
Well, at the end of the day, I did talk to Mike Savarese about it, and Chris Caw is also back there, my builder. The Webb Street Juliet porches face due east.
Right.
And so that would be, if a hurricane came that way, everything would come out of the east.
But you
And
understood that when you
the doors there were glass. No, absolutely, I
3 feet from
understood
3
that.
blocks from the back.
I understood
So
that.
Are these doors installed? These doors on there?
We can't get the right ones in, still, whatever. We got the wrong size in, we got the wrong color in, then we got they were left-hand, right-hand the wrong way, and so we're still waiting for the storm doors to come. We did get storm doors in that we were able to demonstrate that you could not have been able to do it, but they were the wrong color, so.
Your architect designed the plans without storm doors, and those were the plans that we looked at.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Jim, just for the record, not critical, but the one balcony is no closer to the street than what was approved. I think that's what you were saying.
Both, well, both are
They're
2
less.
feet 10 inches interior dimension instead of 4 feet.
Just for the record, from good and bad, what is the square footage of the one balcony?
Well, the one is exactly 16 square feet.
And then the other
other one
one
is 17 square feet.
17 square feet.
But
which is-
Mr. Kennedy, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the square footage is irrelevant to us. As my fellow board member said, we didn't say
Right.
4x4 or 116 square feet. We specifically said 4x4. So to have your applicant give testimony as to the square footage is irrelevant to any argument.
Well, I just wanted to be upfront and say that one of them is 17 square feet. So,
But by making that argument, you're also saying that your applicant, to our professional, is that your applicant was the decision maker in this, which again goes against your
agreed,
argument.
but I just wanted to make the record straight that the one is larger than 17
And the
square
record
feet.
will also show that your applicant was the decision maker over this board.
Agreed.
2.5 hours of testimony in July of
Agreed.
22.
Jim, what's the next element you want to talk about? Fences?
Well, the next one's the impervious coverage. Do you want to talk about that one?
no. Talk about it.
I mean, I'm not the expert, but at the end of the day, I don't know that, I mean, I know we have a stormwater management system in place. Every leader goes into the ground, and from there, it goes into a basin underneath my driveway, an 11 by 20 by 2.5 foot, which is on the plan. So every drop of water that hits the roof of my house obviously gets drained into that well that's underneath my driveway. There is stone on the back on the western side of my house because that's a very skinny piece. Actually, both sides, west and east, are very skinny. And we just use stone instead of planting grass there for drainage reasons. And the landscape beds are stone, which cost more than mulch, but again, drains better than mulch. So I'm not sure if we do or don't need, if we have an impervious coverage problem there or not.
So why don't you talk about so there was a stormwater that was approved. Why don't you talk about what has changed now so we know exactly what the differences are as opposed to how it sits now and what we approved in 2022?
On the stormwater system, nothing. All the downspouts go into a pipe that go under the ground on both the east side and the west side of the house, and they feed into a basin underneath my driveway.
And that's all been built according to the plans that we approved.
Correct.
I think the issue is with the impervious
Coverage, correct.
Right?
Yep.
So what is the impervious coverage at this point?
We may need the engineer's testimony before we can fully understand. More important is, what was the reason for changing from having turf and the planting beds that were per the plan, the plot plan, and the decision to change from natural vegetation to stone and artificial turf?
Because the plot was always skinny. I mean, it
Right.
didn't change.
So was it a maintenance concern, a cost concern,
Well, no, we spent more to put stone in the landscape beds than we would have spent to put mulch in there. And we would have spent a lot less to put, we have not turfed the property. So that has not been done yet. And obviously, we'd spend a lot less money to put grass seed down than we would turf.
so what was the reason for not doing that?
For not doing what?
For not just going with regular turf?
Regular grass.
Regular grass.
Well, first off, we missed the planting season. So, no, I know, but I haven't done anything. It's dirt right now. So,
Again, so why the choice?
And that hasn't been completed yet, but why is are you looking to change to the?
oh, why am I looking to put turf? Is that the
Yes.
question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's not our primary residence. First off, we do live in Freehold, born and raised in Freehold. We have no plans to make Asbury our primary residence. As I testified before under oath, and I'll testify again now, we will not rent the property out.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
But
It is irrelevant.
On July
It's irrelevant.
22nd, 2022, you had testimony that this was going to be your retirement home.
well, a retirement home, right. So right now, it's not our primary residence. I am still gainfully employed. Sometime in the future, possibly, but right now, my full-time residence is in Freehold.
But again, we're talking about changes. What the thoughts in your mind then are no different, your lifestyle, whatever, your life plans were no different than
No.
than your thoughts are now.
Correct.
And you agreed to certain things, and now you want it changed. And again, you're not giving us compelling reasons to approve these changes.
Well, the reasons for the turf would be, I only have a very, very small patch of grass. I think it would be 720 square feet, which is basically the front of my house. And when I first bought the property, I couldn't find a landscaper that would cut that lawn because he said it wasn't worth him taking a mower off the truck and zipping around. So for maintenance purposes, the fact that I am not a full-time resident there now, hopefully I will be in the future, it's a very high dog traffic area. I love animals, I love pets, but a very high dog traffic area, so I think that would be very tough to keep the grass green. It does drain very well. There is going to be the grass on top of stone, on top of my K4 soil.
Mr. John, I wanted to cut you off. How long does it take you to drive from your house in Freehold to your house here in Asbury?
About 20 to 25 minutes.
20 minutes. So you're telling us that you can't drive 20 minutes in the height of the growing season to cut your lawn?
No, I'm not saying I couldn't do it. I'm not saying that at all. I can't even put a lawnmower basically in the shed that I have, a 4x12 shed, I think. But again, I can cut my own lawn. I can do that.
That's not our concern,
Right.
Mr. Dunn. I need you to go on.
Sure,
Okay.
and then just in terms of the turf, I think you had a sample of the turf here.
Oh, I do. I have it behind me.
Why don't you just, at least since we're on that, can I just
Michael,
show that
can
to
you
the
bring
board? Now, do you want me to move this in, Jeff, or? I don't care.
Is it the one he's gonna use?
Yes. Then the one that I have the test reports for.
All right, well, why don't you just identify what it is, and are these the same?
Yeah, they're the
Is there
same.
a
They're
specific name of it?
Yeah, Meraki, M-E-R-A-K-I, Craze, C-R-A-Z-E. Yeah, it does shed.
Do you want to mark that as A2?
Yes, the A2.
Mr. Chairman, should I present it to you, or you don't? need
Please,
to?
sure, we'll take a look. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chairman, we will have our engineer talk about impervious coverage calculations and pervious versus impervious.
I understand.
Momentarily. Jim, I know there's a change on the shed, correct?
Correct.
Before you leave that, to talk about why you're not going to put a tree in.
I'm sorry?
Since we're talking about grass and things that grow, the trees,
The shade
the
trees.
shade trees that
Right.
you're required to put in.
Right. I have to put in 3, I think, street trees, as they were called. I have a plan that was submitted as part of my packet that shows that.
You're actually, according to our board professional, your plans do not show that.
Right.
Yeah, in the submitted packets, we do have a
And we
landscape
have-
plan in
So
there.
I thought one of your requests was to
Remove them.
remove.
You remove,
Yeah,
remove the trees.
No, we have street trees in there.
it's in the application.
Just three. I didn't do it.
No, Mr. Savarese, you're not under oath.
But just for the record, you have no problem with putting the 3 street trees in accordance with the prior approval?
No, in fact, that plan was submitted as part of my packet. There's 3 street trees and whatever the other detail is on there for the plants, I can't speak to it.
And it'll be in concert with the Environmental Shade Tree Commission here in town.
Yes,
They have to approve it.
sure.
It can't be a cherry tree or whatever.
Understood,
It has to be.
right.
They will, absolutely.
Mr.
Are you where
Pavinsky.
you're also built in the right of way as well?
Right.
I'm sorry,
Just, let's stick to the order that the applicant wants to do instead of jumping around so that.
Well, since the right of way has something to do with the street trees, right?
It does, but I don't know if that's the order of Donna's letter. I think it sounds like you're going through the order of Donna's,
I was, yes.
so it's easier for me to.
I understand.
Resolutions.
All right. Please proceed, Mr. Dunn.
I think there's the next one, 3.1, elimination of the porch railing in lieu of a surrounding 3-foot metal fence.
And what do you have to say about that?
Well, the porch ends very close to the sidewalk on Webb. And without any kind of physical barrier there, a lot of people were using it just kind of as a seating area as they were passing by. In fact, I have a letter from one of my neighbors saying he constantly sees people sitting there on my porch. And if I were to put a railing in between, the porch is only 4 feet 3 inches deep, 4 feet 3 inches deep. So to put a railing in between the columns, it would almost be impossible to put any furniture on that porch. You wouldn't physically be able to walk around it at 4 feet 3 inches. So we decided to not do that, and instead, we already had a permission to put a fence up. We just extended the fence instead of putting a railing on the porch in order to put furniture on the porch if we wanted to sit there.
Okay, what's next?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
Chair.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Also making notes about the turf. Let me just quickly go back. So you testified that you changed the fence along the street frontages to enclose your yards because people are basically trespassing?
Correct, they're sitting on the porch. There's no physical barrier, and the porch ends very close to the sidewalk. We didn't put up any gates, though. We didn't want it to be, it looked like a prison wall. We have no gates on the 3-foot-high fence.
Donna, did we originally approve a fence?
There was a picket,
Not this fence
Yeah,
in this
there was a
there was
location.
a picket fence.
And there was
On the
a gate
back.
across the driveway.
Correct, I did not put the gate
And
across the
nothing around the
driveway.
front, is that?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, so
I was also approved to put my fence right on the property line. As part of that, the fence installer said he wanted to set it back about 3 inches. He was nervous about installation error and have it going over the property line. So that was one of the notes that was made in this report, that the fence was supposed to be on the property line. However, it's set back 2 or 3 inches off the property line. And that was just a decision made by Carl's Fence that he didn't want to have to come back and rip it out because his installer veered off course a little bit. So we're actually set back 2 or 3 inches off the property line.
But you said you extended the fence.
Correct. It was supposed to end right past the driveway on Webb, and we extended it past that,
So.
but set back from the line.
Requires it to be set back 1 foot.
But we had a variance to put the fence on the property line.
And who gave you that variance?
Yeah, where'd you get the variance?
That's on the plans. That was on the original plans.
What was on the approved plans?
It was on the approved plans.
Right, but not to go all the way down.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So
Back by the driveway.
So you didn't have approval to put this fence all the way down to the front of your yard on the property line, or even 3 inches from the
Correct.
property line.
Correct.
You chose to do that on your own.
Hang on. I need to better understand this. You originally got approval for a fence along the interior property line on the side and the interior property line on the rear. It came across the driveway
On Webb, right?
on Webb, but then didn't it die into the side of the house?
No, it just,
I thought it was supposed to stop right after the driveway. It wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to run down the side
And the
yard.
whole
Right.
side of the street,
Right.
no.
And so, hang on, I'm trying to pull up the original layout that shows the fence. Because, again, it's kind of a distinction. If you only had 20 feet of fencing, that most of which was a gate set basically at the property line, I think that's something the board, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, it's different than I'm going to put fence on the entire property, on the property line. That's a different type of extent for the board to consider. And what you're doing now definitely should not be within 3 inches of the property line. It should be 1 foot back from the property line in accordance with the code. The stuff on the interior can be on the property line. That is the code for interior fencing. Stuff that's on the street side has to be set back 1 foot. So again, if you have a moment to just look at the old plan, I think that was because of where it was in relationship to the side on Webb and how it died into the back of the building, it was not a concern to be, whether it was on the property line. But this is, 30 feet and 100 feet of on the property line fencing. And that is a distinction. It's different from your original approval, and I think that would be a new level of review. That's what I felt. Does that make sense?
That's why I asked you, did we have a fence on the,
So I was trying to check two things, and is that the original?
Do you have a copy of the plan?
Since they're looking at the plans, I'm going to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess so that people can use the facilities.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I will now take roll call. Wendy Glassman.
Here.
Daniel Harris.
Here.
Russell Lewis.
Here.
Jill Potter.
Here.
Natalie Passerini. Vice Chair Scully.
Here.
Chairman Avalone.
Here. Please proceed, Mr. Kennedy,
Okay.
Mr. Dunn.
Donna, did I cut you off?
So we were just looking at the,
So these are the resolution compliance plans that were approved and signed by Jason as well as the board chair and board secretary
in Mr. Beeman's hands.
in my hands. The fence that was approved was only basically running along the line of the house line. There was no fence approved at the front of Webb.
Along the street line of what?
It's not along the street line according to the plan,
On Webb.
on Webb. It's
on
along,
Sixth?
it's along the home line. So it's set, I don't know how many feet this is, I don't have a scale, but it's several feet off of, it's to the house line, is where that
The front
fence is.
building line on the.
Here's the question I have is, and this is to the applicant if you don't mind. Are you willing to take the fence that you have and put it at the 1 foot line?
I think that would be right on against the porch.
You didn't answer my question. Are you
Am I
willing to do it?
I probably would think aesthetically it would just be better to eliminate it. It would be right up along the porch, so I just think it would be better if you want to eliminate it. And I do want to say that, again, I know it's not the right thing, but I did go and get my permit amended with the town, showing them that I'm now doing more fence. And so
Your permit amended
I
by
needed,
who?
I had to get my fence permit.
Right.
Okay.
You have to get a fence permit.
Right, but you always have to get a fence permit.
Right.
But you didn't disclose to them that you have.
That has nothing to do with what you did.
Right.
No, but I showed it where it is today is where
Yeah,
I
but
did.
they don't know that you have a resolution
Right.
stating what you're supposed to do, Mr. Dunn.
Well,
All they did was give you a permit.
let me explain here. If he submitted a fence permit and got a zoning approval for a fence, that's separate and apart from the jurisdiction that this board has. You can put a fence in at any time.
Agreed.
As long as you're in compliance. If you're not in compliance, obligation is to come before this board unless you make it comply.
I understand that.
1 foot setback would comply. And that's why I asked the question. It looks to us like the porch is about 3 foot off the property line, which would make the fence about 2 foot off the porch, according to the plans.
I don't, scale-wise, I'm not sure how far I am off the,
I can tell you, it says 3 foot
says 3 foot.
on your plan.
So I would be going back a foot then, is what you're saying.
9 inches if you're at 3 inches now.
Don't all fence permits go
okay.
across Michelle's desk and?
They go
zoning?
before the zoning office.
No, it's really simple.
Yeah, I understand, but.
You take your survey, you
So
draw, you yourself draw a line.
Yeah, but it
right
has,
across the fence.
it makes a stop in front of
Yes.
Michelle and zoning.
Yes,
So,
Okay, we'll ask.
the zoning officer.
Because I am approved here.
did you bring the permit approval, your revised permit for the fence? Do you have a copy of that?
I did not bring a copy of that.
We can get that.
I mean, a simple solution is 2 simple solutions. Remove it or comply with the setback. There's no problem with the fence. the height of the fence, the look of the fence, that's not an issue. It has to comply with the setback. Unless you're asking this board to give you relief, which I'm not talking for the board, but.
Now, Jim, were you saying would that result in a jagged fence or?
Well, there's part of the fence at the very south east corner of the house is approved and on the plan, so I'd have one fence at one depth and the rest of the fence at another. Is that what you're saying? Because I know I have fence approved at the southeast corner of the property. Up to the driveway.
So, right. So the south side, yeah, the rear of your property.
The website.
The west side?
The web.
I'm sorry, the website. No, there wasn't approval for a fence on the website.
It ended at
There's
the
no fence
driveway,
on.
didn't it?
Yeah, but
The only fence on this
it
plan
did.
is
It ended at the driveway. But it ended at the driveway.
It
So
ended at the house.
At the corner, rear
Right.
corner of the house.
So your front house line along the parallel well, that fence was to continue to the rear from the corner of the house.
So basically, the parking pad would be enclosed
Right,
by the fencing, but not the actual driveway.
correct.
correct. But then there is fence on Webb because it went up to the driveway. And then I think a little bit past the driveway and then maybe veered into the house.
Not according to the plans that have resolution compliance approval.
What's in the southeast corner then? There's no fence there between the driveway and the corner of,
The southeast corner, there was, on the rear of the property line, the south line, a 6-foot picket vinyl fence.
Right.
At the rear and side property line, it says.
and then it dropped down to a 3-foot fence and it made an L towards the driveway and then it stopped, right? There was a gate on the driveway that I did not put in.
I don't know that it
I don't see
dropped at the corner. There's just, it terminated.
It basically ended where that fence was gonna go through your driveway.
Right, but that's at Webb, that's on Webb.
It is.
Yeah, but it's 8 feet from what? Maybe more?
It's on there.
It was supposed to go to the
Driveway.
southwest corner of the house. You've got it all the way out by the right of way.
I mean, a picture's
Right.
worth 1,000 words. Do you want to share a screen with us or something so we can see?
I don't know how this one's got.
Or
Mike, is,
You're
No, no,
not
Mike's
able
right.
to pull this up?
On here?
Yeah.
Let me see. You go, Chair.
pretty sure there's the driveway. Right. And then the fence will be here.
Yeah, which one are you looking at, the site plan?
This is the plot grading and variance plan. The one that was signed.
I don't know if it is, but we have to do it.
That's the architectural.
Jeff, you're looking at this one?
I'm looking at the actual sign. So that's at the bottom, right? This is the resolution. What?
Yeah, because this one actually says that 4-foot picket vinyl fence aligned with the house facade
Right.
facing west. So if you've got it past your house facade on that southwest corner of your house, then you've gone too far. You've gone beyond what was approved by this board. It was supposed to supposed to match up with the corner of your house, not out to the end of your driveway. So if you look at this picture right here,
sidewalk.
Your fence should have come across and it should have touched this corner, this southwest corner of your house.
Right.
You have it out here. That wasn't approved in the
No,
resolution.
yeah, I have it the other way. You're just pointing the wrong way.
Right.
But there's fence
Either way, that was-
before the driveway, right? Because the gate's not just floating, the gate that was proposed.
As long as it's in line with this edge of the house, that's what was approved. But you're out to here, and that wasn't approved.
No, but I'm still not understanding, because if I bring my fence out to the property line, which I was approved to do, and then I veer in towards the driveway,
That's where you're missing. You weren't approved to bring it out to the property.
but there was a gate in front of the driveway.
Yeah, the gate was in line with this edge.
Oh, you said the gate was in line with the edge of the house?
Right, the gate was not out here, the gate was in line with this end. That's what was approved by this board.
Can you make that larger? All right, so you see where it says Webb Street, 50-foot right of way?
At the top.
Yeah, just to the right of that. That plan says 4-foot picket vinyl fence to align with house facade facing Webb Street. And it points all the way to where the driveway and the house meet. That's where that fence in your plan was proposed to be. It wasn't proposed to be right at the right of way. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
And this is the tag.
And that's the line that tracks that comment.
So this fence was supposed to come like this.
Right.
And then up to-
On the west side of the property.
Right, so that's what was proposed on the plan. Now, what I'm saying is, and I think, Donna, you're in agreement, if you wanted to put the fence that you have there, you can do that. You just have to comply with the setback,
Which is 1 foot. from
which is
top.
1 foot from the property line. And you said you're only 3 inches from the property line, approximately.
No, I think, you're right, you're correct. Yeah,
So
I'm
you
three
have to come
inches
9
back.
more inches,
Yeah.
at least 1 foot, to be in compliance if you want to have that fence. And you can do that.
And it would be on both Webb and Sixth. It's the same situation with Sixth.
Correct.
Their property line.
The right of way on Sixth is only 1 foot in?
No, the fence
The
would
fence has
have
to
to
be-
be offset from the property line. But on Sixth,
Right.
the right of way is much wider, so
Right.
there's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet of grass between where his fence would be and the sidewalk along Sixth.
That's what I want to make sure he understands, that it has to come in quite a bit, because the right of way on Sixth is far different than Webb.
So to help you, at the corner of the property, it says POV, which is the point of the beginning. That's your property line,
Correct.
running parallel with 6th Avenue. That's where your property line is. So you would have to come in a foot further in from that point.
Which would be the same 9 inches, because I'm the same 3 inches off of it.
Right.
Right, where his fence is right now on Sixth is 3 inches off his property line. It's not all the way out in the street.
Right.
But the right of way is farther up, isn't it?
I think it's about a 25-foot, right, setback from the sidewalk to the
Not from the
to the
side.
property line, no?
It might be from the curb,
No,
but not the sidewalk.
it's not
The middle of it. What I'm saying is, isn't the setback for Sixth Avenue is going to be closer to his porch versus closer to the sidewalk?
yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. But only like
On
9
both
more
sides,
inches.
on
It's the
both
same,
sides.
same condition.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand Sixth for a minute.
It looks like the property line is about halfway between where the sidewalk line is
Yeah,
and where the porch starts.
right. And his fence would have to be not on that property line.
Right.
Like, in this photo, it doesn't look like the fence is in the correct position.
It's off by 9 inches.
Okay, sorry,
That's okay.
My uptake is slow.
It's okay. It's a lot.
Can you live with that?
Yeah, in fact, I ripped the fence up, then I ripped the fence up.
So I think what the question is basically, can we comply with the 1 foot setback, or which makes it 9 inches greater than what it is for both Webb and Sixth?
Correct. With that fence that he has shown on the plan.
Yeah, it'd be the same fence.
It'd be the same.
Just have to have them rip it up and.
So Jim, is that something that, as a condition, if the application were, the modified application would be approved, that you could live with and agree to?
Yeah, I would have to do it, sure.
Thank you. Okay, what next, if you're going along, your, Donna's memo or your memo?
So the next thing I have listed is the removal of the porch railings, which we are classifying as a design exception under the community design regulations. New homes are supposed to have a front porch in the traditional style with the kind of a traditional conventional railing style. The original plans showed such a railing. I think in my original report, we had even picked up, I'm not sure if it was the railings, but it was the other stuff. Which houses in the neighborhood, which properties in the neighborhood had similar features. So he's changed the size of the columns that are being used and taken off the railings. And I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. It looks like there's some photographs in the packet, which might be supporting why you were doing the change, but
Well, there's
you guys should
a
explain that.
picture on the website of the chairs on web.
No,
There's plenty, there,
3-4 in the packet. You show a bunch of houses that have railings.
I'm sorry, what number?
3.4.
3.4, hold on.
So
No, that was-
support our
no, I'm not arguing that there's railings at other houses. That was more of a fenestration demonstration.
okay. So then, okay, forget 3.4. So, you started
picture's
talking
the
about this
picture's-
before, so you took the railings off so you would have a more
It's
available room.
3.1, yeah, 3.1. If you put a railing in between the columns, you would have no room to move around any furniture that's on there. You'd have to step off the porch to step back on the porch. So that's where we just basically eliminated that and put it more of as a fence than a railing.
So in the original plan, you had a 5-foot wide porch, and now it's a 3-foot wide porch. Is that correct?
It's 4 foot 3 inches to the center of the column, so it is 5. But I was just saying it's only 4.3 if you put a railing in the center of the columns.
Because again, we've changed the type of railing system in columns. Okay.
Donna, what was the size of the columns that were on the approved plan? Are these larger now that are installed?
So these columns are bigger, yeah.
Were the original ones square?
8-inch round cellular PVC column.
Mr. Dunn, what are the size of the columns that are
I
installed?
don't know them to be any different, to be honest with you.
Is it square?
The only thing I know, there was a double column on the front, on each side of the walkway going to 6th, and the house is just too skinny. It's only 21 feet wide on the outside, 18 feet wide on the inside. It just did not look right to have double columns on that for such a skinny house. It was kind of column overload. So we eliminated one of the columns on each side of the walkway going up to 6th. I don't know that the columns are any different than they're round columns. I mean, I have no idea.
But who installed the columns? Was it your builder?
Correct. I didn't see that note in there, so I did not take a
They're now
measurement.
12-inch round columns.
12-inch and 8-inch was approved?
Correct.
So if it was 8 inches, it would give you, and he put the railings down the center, it would give him more room than what
4
he's.
inches.
Yeah,
4
4
inches.
inches.
Right.
It's on the same page. So it's page 3 of 3. At the side. So again, these are the approved plans that were signed off on. Maybe it's the 4th, maybe it's page 4. Yeah, well, that's the page, so it's sideways. This has to be rotated.
So do we know why the columns were changed? Or
I honestly do not. This is honestly the first that I would know that it's not 8 and that it's 12, to be
so
perfectly.
you as the owner have no idea why you went from an 8-inch to a 12-inch?
I honestly do not.
Oh, yeah, the two right, the
Upper
right.
right.
Yeah, upper right's fine.
So your construction group just made a wholesale change without asking you?
He's not
No,
under
no,
testimony.
no,
He's not under oath.
we
Well, I guess
can't
we'll have to bring him up. That's my builder.
We're not done with you, Mr. Dunn. So
Right.
you're telling me that you had no clue as to what your construction group did?
He's not aware of this change.
I'm not aware of that change.
With regard to the column.
To the column.
So they
size.
made that decision all by themselves?
Again, I was not aware. I was not aware of the change.
But you made the decision to take the railings out in between.
I was
columns.
involved in that decision, yes.
So you would have to know to some degree why you needed to do that.
The only reason I did not want to put the railings up there is because I didn't have enough room to work around any furniture that was on the porch. But never once did I say because the column size had changed. It's just the honest answer. I did not know.
I appreciate that, Mr. Dunn, but I find it hard to believe.
I
This is your home, you're paying somebody to construct it to your architectural plans that you paid somebody to develop for you.
Correct.
And you're saying you have no clue as to a change that was made on the actual porch.
On the columns, I do not. There's a lot of moving parts on this house, and I did not know.
Do you understand how it's difficult for us to understand that?
But I also understand.
And you are a very intelligent man. To get an electrical engineering degree is not something that is taken lightly in school.
I appreciate that. And I also I want you to know that I was also the chairman of the Freehold Township Parks and Rec Commission for many years. I understand what it means to be under oath speaking at this table. And I can honestly tell you, there are a lot of moving parts on this job, and I did not know that my columns, you could ask me if my columns are 8 inches right now, I would have testified.
Wouldn't that be more expensive for you to purchase a larger column?
It might, but like I started this out with, he did not ask me for one single change order on this job, not one time.
So you're just blaming your construction?
No, I'm not blaming. I just was not in the know about the size of the column. I'm not pointing blame at anybody. I just could not. You asked me a direct question. If I knew what size the columns were, I did not. I didn't even know what size, honestly, that the columns were 8 inches versus 12 on the
If you were
drawings.
in my seat, what would you believe, Mr. Dunn?
I would tell you that I'm telling the truth. I understand I'm under oath. I did not know the size of the columns at my house. I did not know that. And I did not know today what they are physically on my property. I never once took a tape measure around the outside of those columns.
Just to repeat your testimony from earlier, I think you did testify that you did give your builder a copy of the resolution and a copy of the plans that were approved with that resolution. So he was aware of what was approved and what was in the plans.
We all had copies of the resolution and the resolution compliant drawings.
Okay.
Please proceed.
What's next on Donna's memo or your memo?
I have the roof decking screening. Are you on the
Can we
same
go
page?
there?
Again, just to clarify, because we talked about this earlier, it's your intent to actually install the required street trees.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And that you're not going to propose any encroachments into the right-of-way of either 6th or West. The current plan shows the extent of the turf going into the right-of-way, so
I'd be willing to,
so it stays on your property and.
I'd be willing to spend the money to do it for a uniform look. If you don't want me to do it, then I'm fine not doing it.
Permission from the governing body to do it.
Okay.
We can't grant that.
Yeah.
Okay, who would that come from?
That would be from the city council.
City council, okay.
So is it your intent to seek the easement from the city? Or would you just revise it so it only goes onto your property?
Again, I would do it, I think aesthetically, I would spend the money because I think aesthetically it would look better. If it's an arduous process.
Long-term maintenance problem. So
Okay.
he's going to exact a fee from you in order to construct those improvements in the right of way.
And I think they refer to it as a license agreement, as I understand.
They're out cheap lately, let me tell you.
then you're probably convincing me not to do it.
Okay. So then, we can now go to.
Actually, can I just for one
Yeah.
clarity, from what you said earlier with the trees, just for confirmation, it is going to be what the Environmental Commission says, species and all that, just
Right,
for the
it's
record.
Tom Kravinsky is the contact person.
Got it.
You can reference the Monmouth County approved street tree list. That is what the Shade Tree
Got it.
Commission uses as approved street trees.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said Environmental Commission, I should have said shade tree, I guess.
It's
No,
shade
it's
tree and.
environment. Oh,
okay. Yes, it is.
It's
Got it.
environment and shade tree.
Got it, we'll do that. All right, Donna, I cut you off, what was next?
So then the next thing I have is the material and design of the roof deck screening. Because that was a specific condition in the resolution, to be a certain type, certain color. So, please describe what is there now.
There's pictures if everybody has it in the packet, because it's
Tell us what it
So tell us what page,
I'm on 3.3,
3.3,
3.3.
and there's a couple of 3.3s, I think. So why don't you just go through and is that the first 3.3?
I think it is.
All right, just explain what
Yeah.
people are looking at.
So that's the deck screening on the southern side of the house and the western side of the house. Originally proposed was a wood lattice screening, and the building inspector said, absolutely not. He said he didn't want anything that would be able to be broken through, and he didn't want anything scalable. Because at first when he said no wood lattice, we said, how about metal lattice? And he said no, because you can scale metal lattice. So the building inspector basically shot down that and said it's a safety concern. I don't want anybody standing on the edge of that hot tub falling backwards, and I don't want anybody standing on the edge of the hot tub and scaling up the wall and then trying to jump in the pool or falling and going over. He also recommended or asked for a sample of what we might do, and I know the builder supplied that to him, and he approved what was up there right now. He said this will be fine because it's not scalable, but yet it's see-through. Because of the way the slats point away from you, you can't put your fingers in it unless you're on the outside of the wall.
Mr. Gunn, isn't it true though that the reason why he told you to change that was because you put a larger hot tub, a 12-person instead of an 8-person?
No, it's the height of the hot tub never changed.
Don, I thought we had something that it was based on the size
And the placement.
and the placement.
So, one of the conditions of approval was reducing the size of the roof deck to 24 feet by 16 feet.
Right.
And then provide screening on the westerly and southerly sides that was gonna be lattice and have rooftop plantings.
I can understand, I also did the Monmouth County Construction Board of Appeals, so I can understand the testimony. When you have a pool compliant fence can't have any type of ability to climb it. So it's a similar, I think what the testimony is and what he was told is probably accurate from the construction official, so that nobody can climb it. If it's vertical, it's not climbable, but if it's horizontal, it can be climbable.
And as a condition of his approval, he should have taken that information to the zoning office to determine options. What was approvable by the building.
We understand that, Donna.
Right?
Yes.
Versus what the board expected.
We understand what Mr. Beekman said and what you're saying. It's a valid point, but please move on.
But wait, if I could, the slats are still horizontal though.
Right.
They're not vertical.
They have a angle to them, they're not just like flat slats. Like, if you-
Yeah, they're angled towards you on the inside, so there's nothing you can grab.
It's not that they're horizontal, it's that they're not scalable.
They're not scalable.
it's like you have mini blinds and you tilt them this way versus that way.
Correct.
What
Light
is the
comes in
size?
and the light can't come out.
What is the size of the deck? Is it the 24 by 16 that was approved?
Yeah, the deck is not changed.
What's changed was the hot tub,
Correct. It's 3 feet longer.
which had an ultimate effect on the fence, right?
No, because the height never changed. So it was based off the height of the tub. Somebody standing on the tub, he said he wanted a minimum of however many, 3 feet above that, and I think we're at exactly 3 feet 3 inches. because he also said that I was approved to put built-in benches on that deck, and he says you have to be 6 foot above that if somebody's standing on the bench. So that put me at like 3 feet 3 inches above the edge of the hot tub, and he said that was fine.
In your narrative included with your amended application.
Hold on for a second, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, the letter of, is that the only one? One more? Okay, so, number I, the third floor recreation deck required a retaining wall around the hot tub, which is slightly higher than initially approved, as the hot tub wall is 57 inches and the building inspector required a minimum of 3 feet above the said height. The applicant exceeded the minimum requirement by 2 inches. The building inspector approved the wall during final inspection. Likewise, the said material is not wood lattice as set forth in the plans, but rather metal slat wall. There's some about the scalability. The existing walls are constructed so that they meet the height requirement, and subject slats are positioned so that they cannot be scaled. So my question is, this remark that the recreation deck required a retaining wall around the hot tub, which is slightly higher than initially approved. What are we talking about? Is it the wall is higher or the hot tub is higher?
No, the wall. The hot tub is the same height. It's always been the same.
But the building inspector required a higher wall?
Correct. He wanted it to be a minimum of 3 feet for someone standing on the edge of the hot tub, and 6 feet above a bench.
Okay.
And then whose decision was it to change it from wood to the metal?
Well, that was the inspector saying he wouldn't approve wood lattice.
The next two items in my list are not design exceptions or variances or anything. It's just changes in the number and style of the windows and some of the decorative elements on the facades.
Okay. Jim, can you talk about the windows?
Well, I mentioned the one window that was eliminated in the bathtub. It was a full-height window in a bathtub, and the inspector said no way. So that window is eliminated. There was another window eliminated on the second floor on the southern end of the house because my electrical panel had to expand in space. We had too many circuits in the panel. We had to add a second panel. And I was beholden to a 3-foot clearance in front on all sides. It was the only place that we could put it, so it had to go where the window was, so that window got eliminated.
Go ahead. I'm just gonna have the plan pulled up.
And again, with the fire rated code and some ceilings dropped, one of the windows ended up in a landing of the stairs. And again, the inspector said, no way, somebody trips going down the stairs, hits the landing, they can roll out through the window. So he said that window has to be eliminated.
Can you tell, so the board can see, these are the plans that again were approved? Can you tell us which?
Why don't you go up there and point, Jim, as to which ones?
On that side of the house, on this is the west side of the house. The only windows that got eliminated here.
Watch your foot, Jim.
I got you. I believe this one got eliminated, this one, and the two bigger ones got pushed out.
So the three smaller ones?
Windows got eliminated. Oh, okay. Yeah, so this window, and this window got eliminated, and the two bigger windows got pushed out to the side. And I understand that was due to, again, this is not my area of expertise, but the Res Check Energy Code, that the windows have a direct factor on that, and there were too many windows to properly heat or cool the space. So they recommended that we eliminate those three because there were just too many windows in that one area right there. I'm not an expert on res check energy code, but all I was told is the windows are a big factor and we had to eliminate some windows.
And what about windows on the other elevation? We'll bring that, we'll pull that up.
If we bring that up, there was the one on the 6th Avenue
All
side.
right, so hold on 1 second. Our friend, we'll get back.
So how many windows were eliminated, Mr. Dunn?
On the website, 3.
3.
Yeah.
In total, though, of the whole structure?
Website was 3. On the southern side, 1. On the back side, if we could go to the back side and show, there were 2 eliminated there. And then 1 on the 6th Avenue side, which ended up in a
So
stair
you know
landing.
that's a significant change in your plans overall, right?
For the reasons I've outlined, yes. Well, there you are on the rear elevation south. The window on the left-hand side got eliminated. That is
Just
in-
point it out so everyone's clear.
This is in my electrical closet. My electrical closet's on the 2nd floor. That window got eliminated because I needed to have an extra panel put in. This door, by the way, as it's written here, is a 2-panel door. It was framed out to be that. The gas company put the gas meter right here. Even though I asked the gas company if they could put it at the rear of the house, when I came one day or whatever, the gas company put the gas meter right there. There's a picture of it in my packet. So even though that was framed out and purchased, I had to reframe it out because the gas company dropped the gas meter right there. And they said, there was no argument with them. They said they needed a direct shot from the street in, and they said they needed to be, there's electrical equipment here, and they needed to be 10 feet from this and X amount of feet from this, so there's the only place they could put it. So that's not a single door because the gas company put the gas meter right there. There's a picture of that in there.
Now, do we need the other elevation brought up to show which windows have been eliminated?
You know, if you want, well, here's the rear, here's the side right here. So this is the western side. So this window here got eliminated. Honestly, to be a friendly neighbor, I have a huge light fixture in that window, and the house that's on my west is very close. The property here is very thin. There's a huge light fixture in that window, and there's a window directly across from it. So I eliminated that window just to kind of be a friendly neighbor because that's a big, big light fixture with a lot of lumens to it. And so once we eliminated that, we looked and said that might be a little odd, just that one window on one side of the house. There was no real reason except for aesthetics to take that window out. And then if you go to the, I guess the only one we have left is the 6th Avenue. Yeah, but this is the window here that ended up at the stair landing. The stairs go up right here. It ended up like right in the middle of the stair landing, and the inspector said no way because someone falls down the stairs, they fall out the window. So that window got eliminated. But I still do think I have a ton of fenestration in this house. If you look at the pictures, I have a ton of windows. So I don't think I'm light on that. And really only one window was eliminated for no reason, and that would be the one on the western side of the house down below. That was the only one I could have kept.
But you realize it's not the plan that we
Yeah, yes, I
We
do.
saw.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
we agreed with and that we liked
Absolutely.
and we approved.
Absolutely.
Who was your project manager while you were not on site?
Jack Duke Construction, Chris Caw was my builder, who I know all this aside, thrilled with him. He did an amazing job. And a very, very tight constraint, skinny house, 21 feet wide, 18 feet wide on the
I
inside.
know you mentioned, sir.
Yeah,
And
he
I
did a great
disagree.
job.
I don't think he did a great job. It's a beautiful house. It doesn't follow the resolution or the architectural plans that were approved.
Can I still like him? I like him.
But yeah, he's really a great
I like
guy.
him.
Could any of this been done? All of these changes, these are a lot of changes. Could any of this been done prior to us giving you a resolution?
Well, honestly, we left here and had no idea about 5A 1-hour fire rating construction. So that's probably one of the bigger misses here, is that we did not know that. So I don't know. I mean, to do this all over again, that would be the thing. If we had known that a lot of these things would have been changed. Had we known about the wood lattice would not have been approved, and there's just in a perfect world, I would say, yeah, I would love to. I don't want to be here. I don't want to waste your time being here. Because the house as it is right now, in my mind, I'd love that house, and it's not inherently different than what I have today. So I took more away, not adding in. And yeah, I'd love to have it. The 5A construction took my soffits from 2 feet, which were beautiful on the outside of my house, down to 1 foot, because 5A construction says you can only have a maximum of a 12-inch soffit going around your house. I would love to have that house.
So why were the entrance doors changed?
Excuse me?
Why were the entrance doors changed?
Honestly, when I was doing this drawing with Mike Savarese in 2022, the spring of 2022, it was honestly a complete waste of time to pick a door out because of supply chain. I know that's not your problem, but to go through the trouble of saying, I want that particular door, we put doors in as placeholders. And the doors that I put in, if you could see the drawings, are gorgeous doors. They're Victorian architecture. They're absolutely gorgeous, solid wood. If I'd have tried to pick that out, prior, I wouldn't have been able to get it. So I basically took what I could get and tried to keep within the design and spirit of the house. I just think we put 6 white panel doors on there as a placeholder.
No, you actually had, I think there was some glass transoms. And again.
Well, the transom that one transom on 6 was eliminated because the ceiling height came down with the double 5/8 sheetrock, so we had to.
What were the reasons for some of the design elements that were eliminated?
Specifically,
I think Donna could.
I'm sorry?
Some of the design elements that were eliminated, Donna.
Well, so for example, there's no longer the, spire. Above the roof, the lightning rod is removed.
The spire is on the top.
Did they take something off the side door too? They took
There's trim elements within the, between the third and second floors, right, in the tower. It's no longer a decorated panel, it's just a plain panel. But conversely, he added corbels in the, on the eaves. So we didn't have those before. When we go to the, yeah, the doors,
What about this stone? Was that originally
yeah,
in the front?
yeah, the stone was there. It was,
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Dunn, why didn't you come back to us before you did all this?
again, as I initially testified, that we did not know that we needed to come back to the board unless we were specifically looking for additional variances, which obviously was an error, and we apologize for that in the beginning. I did not consult Kevin a lot during the course of the construction of this project because nowhere did we think, where we were doing something that we needed additional variances. We were obviously in the wrong there, and that's why, we're here now, and that's why we're wasting everybody's time.
Just to correct you, you're here now because you want a CO. Is that correct, Mr. Dunn?
Well, yeah, that's the point that we're at. I do have a TCO, and to answer your initial question, that was given to me by the construction department. There's a copy.
But you
of
have no CO.
I have a TCO,
right?
correct. I have a TCO that expires on
And that's why you're
June
here.
15th. Correct. Well, correct. I need a CO.
It's
correct.
not because you made these changes. It's because you can't get a CO.
Correct.
And Michelle Alonso flagged the differences and said, we have a problem. Was there anything more in Donna's letter? Or that you need to talk about?
those were the specific items
Okay.
requiring relief or substantial changes.
Jim, was there anything else we needed to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, the only other thing was that double door on the back of the house, which I already explained, was because the gas meter ended up there.
We need this?
If you had been there when the gas meter been put in the other place. If somebody responsible would have been there, would the gas meter been put into the spot where we asked it to be put?
No, my builder was on site when the gas meter, I was not. My builder was, and the gas company gave no choice. That's where they were putting the gas meter. It was non-negotiable on their end. And he called me and told me that, and I called the woman that I was dealing with, and she said, Jim, they're gonna put it where they need to put it. You don't have a choice in where I did red X where I wanted them to put it. She acknowledged that, but she said, the people on site said it had to go there. I don't want it where it is. It's right by my driveway, right where you pull in, you see it. I wanted it in the rear of the house.
You have documentation stating that they said that?
Oh, 100%. I can show you the emails that were sent showing that red X where I put it in the rear of the house. They said the gas meter can't, the gas line can't bend. They want a straight shot from the street with no bends in it. Anytime you bend a gas line, you degrade the volume of gas that can flow through it. So she said they just need a straight shot from the street to the gas meter. She said she needed to be 10 feet away from the generator and X amount of feet away from the electrical, the automatic transfer switch is mounted on the outside of the house, and she had to be a certain distance from there. So she said, unfortunately, Mr. Dunn, we can't move it. It has to be right where it is.
And Jim, I think, was there one other change?
The shed is not as high as you approved. I believe you approved the shed that was 16 feet high. We only built the shed at 12 feet high.
And why is that?
It just didn't look right. It was too high. It didn't look right. So we just made the shed 12 feet high. It's skinny too. It's 4 feet by 12 feet, I think. So it'd be a long, thin, high shed. There's nothing really you could do at the top half. So we kind of
During the original hearing, you discussed that in order to make sure he was going to comply with the setbacks for a shed, it was going to have kind of a non-standard dimension.
right.
But it was debated whether he should get the variance for the setback or
Right.
do a complying size shed.
Again, I just wanted to state for the record, since we're here, that
Shed is smaller.
it is smaller. Now, obviously, you know, we do have our engineer to testify about stormwater management, but just before I end up with Mr. Dunn, I mean, obviously, we're here, and the question is, how can we resolve this to your satisfaction?
Well, before we even get close to that, Mr. Kennedy, I have to see if the board has any more questions for Mr.
Sure,
Dunn.
fair enough.
Right.
Sorry.
Any further questions for the board for Mr. Dunn?
No.
Board professionals, any further questions for Mr. Dunn? All right, I'll open it up to the public. Does anybody have any questions regarding Mr. Dunn's testimony? Seeing none, we'll, do you have a question? Please step up to the mic. Then, no.
Okay.
It's not a question for Mr. Dunn's testimony, then we're not accepting any comments at this time.
Can I bring up Mr. Scott Lynn?
I think this is a good place to stop, Mr. Kennedy, only because it's been a very long process, right?
Agreed.
And I think everyone needs to take 5 on this.
And absorb.
And absorb all the things Mr. Dunn has said to us and give it some time for us to think about. Don't
Okay.
you agree?
I would think that that is a perfectly fine solution, temporary solution to give everyone some distance and some time to think about it.
Sure. So knowing that, we're going to have your applicant come back and your your professionals as well. I would think about your ways that you could help us as well.
We're reading between the lines, very clear lines, and
I hope it's clear this time.
it's very clear. And what type of date are you looking for, sir?
Well, that's.
So the question would be whether there's going to be revisions and we will need,
So let me just explain to my client, if I may. So they're going to ask us for an adjournment, so we come back, hopefully without new notice, so that the board can analyze some of the things that we've said, and we can analyze some of the things and questions that they have said. And if there is, in the light of day, further modifications that we can make to address some of their concerns. Maybe there are, maybe they're not. And the requirement is that if we are going to submit any type of revised plans, and I don't know we are, they have to be on file 10 days in advance of the hearing. So that's why the board secretary is going to give us some dates. And if on the one hand, we want to get the thing resolved as quickly as possible, obviously. On the other hand, if there are going to be any revisions that are needed, we don't do ourselves any favors to not get it done within 10 days. So what type of dates are you looking at?
So we just want to advise that the normal policy of the board is revised plans need to be in 3 weeks prior to the next scheduled meeting.
So
that we
that
have
eliminates this
an opportunity
month.
to review and respond.
Okay.
So we're talking May timeframe.
And again, only if you're doing, changes to the plans.
And I don't know that we are, but we're going to have to talk about that.
I understand. So I think May is probably more appropriate, wouldn't
And
you
what would be
say?
the May date?
May 14th or May 21st available?
You guys know if you have any conflicts?
And just out of curiosity, is May 14th, horrible question to ask, is that the second Tuesday, do you know?
It is.
It is.
There's
Okay.
the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the
Okay.
28th of the month.
I would prefer the 21st if we could. Okay. Can we do the 21st? My horrible life, I live on second Tuesday, fourth Tuesday, and all those things.
I appreciate that, Mr. Kennedy. So if everyone's amenable to May 21st? Oh, no, is it May 21st?
We have,
May 21st.
so we have the second and third Tuesday of May?
Are you sure it's the 21st, Murray?
May 21st is a Tuesday.
I have,
Wouldn't it be the 28th?
Well, that's what I thought was
The 28th?
But we may have made the adjustment.
Because of Memorial Day.
So we moved from Memorial Day weekend?
Right.
There
So-
was a reason why we moved. We are the 21st.
Okay.
And the May 14th or the 21st.
Okay, it's probably because of Memorial Day. Yeah, makes
And
sense.
there was some other city dates that we couldn't.
I understand. All right, so I'll make a motion to carry 306th Avenue to May 21st, 2024 without further notice.
And for the record, on behalf of my client, I consent to extend the time frame within which the board has to act.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
I'll second.
April 30th is the deadline for submission of plans, revised plans.
Thank you.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.